afternoon, everyone. Let's call to order the meeting for Space Improvement Water Advisory Committee for Wednesday, 7th of May, 2025. Attendance is our first order. Business.
LaRue, present. Fadian. Conti. Here. Bowen. Pryor.
Here.
Raver.
Here.
And Bond. Here.
All right, great, please.
Oh, sorry, Dallas Elliott, I'm sorry.
Dallas Elliott. Okay.
Now I'm done.
All right, next would be an introduction for committee member Erica Bondi. Lisa, your honors here.
Sure. So committee members, Erica Bondi is our new committee member, and she is, today's her first meeting. She and I have met once before. And maybe just really quick, we can do a quick kind of roundtable. I know, Pete's like, but just kind of maybe say how long you've been on the committee. Anything else you want her to know? Erica and I have met. She was in Lisa, Superintendent of Open Space.
Holly Conti, and I've been on the committee, I think about a year. Been involved in various aspects of open space protection and preservation for about 10 years now.
Parks and Recreation. I'm Scott Raber, and I've been on the committee for quite some time, 10 years, I think, or since it was started, it was about 10. Yeah. And I'm also a representative from the Parks and Rec Commission.
I'm Emily LaRue. I'm the landscape designer at Far West Landscape. Holly and I joined at the same time, so about a year.
I will say, I'm Erica Bondi. This is my first meeting, just kidding. And I was part of the Conservation Voters for Idaho Boards and Commissions Fellowship last year. And so this was one of the opportunities that came up that there's some, that Sam over there said, you should try this, you should go for this. So I did, and so now I'm here.
I'm Matt Cryer, and I've been on the committee 10 years.
Pete Van Gilly, this is my swan song, leaving today, so I've been on the West, we're trying to figure out 10 years, I think. We interviewed with Mayor Beater, and then there was a hiccup on the levy, so we had to wait a year because they didn't provide the way to collect the money, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The link, there's
Yeah,
a
a little bit of
box.
Mr. President, a little bit of a snap.
Yeah. So
But we got it squared away.
but I've moved to Garden City, so I'm no longer a resident of Lucis. Had to resign. Begrudgingly.
And July.
Brenda?
Brenda from Parks and Rec, safety assistant, that's why I clicked reading.
Hi, I'm Dane Hoskins. I'm the Pathways Program Manager over in PDS, and I'm here for one of the projects, but also really grateful for the opportunity to get to know the committee and more about this program.
Awesome. Then next would be a recognition of fearless leader Pete Van Gilly. I'll speak up first, but it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And wish you hadn't moved so far away. I'm sure it'll be awesome to be by the river.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a block away.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you around. Thanks for your service.
And we seem to run into each
We do. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Mr. President, I would just add that, I guess we got the three originals here today. You, Matt, and now Pete, who's no longer going to be with us, but we appreciate your, I don't know if you ever even missed a meeting hardly, you've been very engaged in the stuff we're doing, really appreciate that. For that 10-year period, rose through, was vice president and just served a term for president for us, so we appreciate that. You've been a great person to go to and have side conversations with about stuff that's coming up, we appreciate that. You will definitely be missed, but as Scott said, it's great that you're gonna be on the river now and you're gonna be still close by,
Yeah.
But again, I think on behalf of the mayor and city council, I really appreciate your contribution. Doing this 10 years ago and sticking with us. So enjoy the next part of your journey. So you retired from Idaho Power a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 5.
Hasn't been 5.
Flies by.
Just a couple. So anyway, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
So you leave now or can you stay?
We can stay.
Yeah, no executive session. If you have one.
All right, on to elections. I move to nominate Catherine Dallas Elliott as chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Since she's not here.
It's easy.
And committee members, I just want to be clear that Catherine and I have had conversations and she knows this is coming.
She's a great.
As well with Patty, who, oh, there's Patty. But yes, Catherine knows this is coming, so I just want to do that.
It's not a good tip, it's not.
It's notice a former vice president and president was really quick to do a second on that nomination.
Okay,
So,
with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move to nominate as vice chair Patty Bowen.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, congrats, Patty.
Thanks all. I'm really excited.
You're excited as well. Seriously. Look forward to your leadership. All right, new business. Minutes from February 5th, 2025. Any changes to make before we vote on that? Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I motion to approve the.
I'll second
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Lisa, installing tunnel pathway application.
committee member Raver, oh, sorry, Pete, I didn't go far enough on the PowerPoint.
Did we like give him a plaque or something?
Yes, so yes.
Guys, can you show us that? You can get her over it.
it. There's the years on there.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Very appreciative of yours.
So this will be
Sorry about
a
that.
motion, that we vote on.
This will, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so committee members, this is an application that, as Dane is here with me, as Parks and Recreation and PDS put in together. So this is for about 1.15 miles of pathway that will run from, essentially Milwaukee to Hill Road. So just a little bit of history too. I talked about Spalding Ranch in here before. Spalding Ranch is a 20-acre piece of property that we acquired back in about 2016. The city has put in over $3 million of improvements into the property. So we've repiped the Tuttle Lateral. We have put in a road that doesn't even show on the map yet. It's so new. We have a parking area. And what we've been working on within the last probably 9 months is working on engineered drawings for not only the pathways, but also hopefully this fall, a restroom and wash station that will be on site. This site is kind of a meld of education, history, and agriculture, and will be a really unique community gathering space. That's about the quickest summary I could give on Spalding Ranch. What's neat about this property is that we actually do corner up to another pathway opportunity that was identified in the Pathways Plan. So the Pathways Plan was adopted in 2022. And this section was really identified as a priority for a connection piece. So to give you just a little bit of context, you can see Hyatt Hidden Lakes is over kind of to the top left of the screen, and then you've got Mountain View Park that is kind of down to the bottom right. So the idea is eventually, once we kind of get all of these safe routes to these parks done, this will be an integral centerpiece that will really help connect. For a little bit of context too, we have the Goddard Linear Park and Pathway that's just on the other side of Capitol High School that this committee was generous enough to help fund. That was just open, they haven't even ribbon cut it yet.
2 weeks we will
2
have.
weeks. So Dane is working on the PDS side, which is the yellow line, and I am working on the blue lines. They will connect at the pinch point. One of the things that here, sorry, just ran into this too. One of the things that this really accomplishes is to help get people safe routes to places. So one of the things we talked about, trails and pathways, is just getting people off motorized areas, giving them more recreational opportunities. As you can see with the pathways at Spalding, there will be about 0.9 miles where neighbors and different residents can kind of cruise through the property, which will be nice. It's not just a direct pathway. We will have on the north side, sorry to go back, on the north side of the Tuttle Lateral, which is kind of the center waterway that dissects the property, that will be kind of our main pathway that will really send traffic down. And then we'll also have a pathway on the other side where if people want to do loops or go around the entire property, but really gives people a lot of opportunities. One of the things I wanted to point out is right where the yellow and the blue lines come together, we talked about in the application where there's one of the things that we're touching on is water efficiency. So the Tuttle Lateral that runs through Spalding property also has head gates there right at the pinch point there where the two pathways will connect. So we're actually proposing, and Dane's been working with the irrigation company to move that head gate and really provide a better pathway for the water to get to users downstream. So we will work with Capitol High School on some irrigation improvements and then also on our park side. Dane has been working with the high school. They're very excited about this pathway and actually the connection between the two. We have kids that currently jump the fence now. People are using it anyway, it's just not an official way to go. It really helps just connect this area. As you probably saw in the application, it's just really increasing that sense of place, access to open space. It really makes Spalding truthfully useful and usable. We haven't been able to really have that many people out on the property right now just because there isn't really a safe way to navigate the space. I will say too, on the Spalding pathways, this is phase 1. So all of these pathways are pathway standards. So between 10 and 12 feet of concrete, where it's bikes, it's very usable for people to use as a thoroughfare. There is a Spalding Pathways phase 2 that's in the works. That's more of our all-weather trails, our pathways to different teaching gardens, through the orchard, things like that. This is just the first phase for people to functionally be able to get through the property. I think from an overview standpoint, Dane, I don't know if there's anything you want to add or that, but I think that kind of gives the property overview and just kind of the need for the pathways program. One thing I would say too is even though it's 2 departments, it's kind of 2 projects, our design team and construction management team for Parks and Rec will be managing both projects. So we're really trying to treat it as one. And the way that they intersect at that pinch point, they really have to be treated as one. The pathways need to connect all the way through and have a seamless transition. So that's kind of one of the reasons that we brought it just as one project together. Can I run through the budget super, or go ahead, Mom, Committee Member Grier.
Thank you, Superintendent. The yellow part that goes through Capitol High, are we paying for that or is the school district paying for that?
Committee Member Grier, that is actually part of this and we'll look at that in the budget really quick. It will be a city pathway. So the construction estimate for both projects is $1.8 million. What we are requesting from PDS and Parks and Rec today is $1 million. So to break that down, the Spalding pathway costs $1.25 million. we are using $730,000 from our Spalding capital funds that we will be putting in this and need a supplement of $500,000 to complete the project. On the Tuttle side, we're asking for $500,000 and the Pathways program funds will be paying for the other $111,000 is essentially the way it works out. So that is the ask today. It is a large price tag, but I do think, you know, kind of understanding, and I think as a committee, we've really started to work through understanding what a lot of these pathways cost. You know, looking at Goddard, that was an expensive project too. I will say right now in the levy funds, we're at about $2.3 million. This will take it down, but I will say we are gonna be getting a refund from both Peasley and Goddard of about $400,000. So after this, I'm sorry, the 2.3 was with the $400,000 back, so I apologize. Once that money is refunded back in, there will be at about $2.3 million.
And after this, Mr. President, that's the 1.3.
That's what we'll need.
That we will have this account balance.
Yes. Thank you, Director.
If you could go back, Mr. President, to this slide, go ahead, Matt.
My question is, you want to do all the blue at once? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes.
I mean, you already have the sidewalks on the squiggly part that goes along the road that connects to the other road there.
Actually, so committee member Pryor, if this works, it works on the
I mean,
wall,
and
but
on
not
that
on the
road.
screen.
The picture shows your sidewalks there already.
So the road actually comes up this way and cuts really close along this way. So there is a sidewalk that goes here and then also here, but nothing along the lateral here. So this loop was requested actually by the neighborhoods. So they really want to be able to access directly to the property, have a large loop that they can go around. So yeah, the road starts here and cuts over kind of directly that way, if that makes sense.
So you have a path on both sides of the lateral.
Path on both sides of the lateral, correct? And then, I wish the pointer worked, but I feel bad because the people that are on screen can't see what I'm saying. So, where the pathway connects to North Cole Road, there actually is future plans for ACHD to work on a crosswalk that will be just to the south, about 20 feet, that will connect to the road across the street that will really help connect that pathway.
So, Mr. President, there's two things I would point out on this particular slide. One, to overemphasize, we don't have any connectivity inside Spalding Ranch right now. Correct. So there's no way to get from one side of 20 acres to the other. You walk through farmland and go aheads and whatever else is there. This can only be a successful local food producing farm if we can get people from one end of the property to the other, which we can't do right now. So the pathways are important to be able to get product, to get our farmers, our partners around to the areas that we need them to get around to. There's a lot more, Lisa had said, that we still need to add that we're gonna have to do funding in the future to get done. So all this is in the master plan. There might be some little adjustments, but it's in the master plan approved previously by the Park and Recreation Commission. So it's just a matter of us being able to find the funding to get this part done. The other point I would point out is just looking at the blue, you got Hidden Lakes, you got Goddard, you have Milwaukee, you have Spalding, and you have Mountain View. But no easy way for you to get to all these locations. And so what Lisa just pointed out, and I'm glad she brought it up, is we're looking at a crosswalk that would get you from the Mountain View area over into Spalding Ranch. And then from Spalding Ranch, your jump off, you could get to Milwaukee Park, you could get to Capitol High. In talking to the school district, we believe it's important that the students that are within biking and walking distance can get safely to Capitol High School right now and not have to worry about getting on Goddard to get there. And this helps create that safe pathway. And the linear park was created at that location for a number of reasons. One, it was an eyesore, right, obviously. But two, it was how do we create some connection on a busy road that could get folks from that location at Capitol High School over to the Hyatt Hidden Lakes Reserve. Now we've got this connection that really goes from Mountain View, as Lisa pointed out, all the way to Hyatt Hidden Lakes. So no one has to get in their car at Mountain View if they want a good little walk and drive from Goddard all the way down Goddard to the reserve. They can, cross eventually to Cole and be able to just go through our properties to be able to get to whether it's just Linear Park or then on to Hidden Lakes. And Dane can speak better to this, but this is the idea of the whole Pathways plan that was adopted by the mayor and council, is how can we start connecting parks and open spaces with each other? And this is probably the best example right now that we have in the city. And you've approved another one, the Peasley connection. We've been getting just rave reviews about folks that are using that right now and how that has made life from the bench and Crescent Rim down into Ann Morrison Park and vice versa. And it's only been open for a month at this point. So it's all coming to fruition. I think Dane is probably the best way to put it, and this is really a good example of that.
This might be a question for Jane. On the lateral, on the extension we had to do for the Garden Street, the canal company is requiring us to close the lateral. Are they gonna require us to close the lateral here for liability?
Great question. So we're in an interesting boundary where up into the pinch point is the Emporium Irrigation District. That lateral has already been enclosed, so it's not a historic resource, so none of those complications apply. And so what we're actually doing is shortening that lateral by a few dozen feet to create space for the pathway. On the other side of that delivery box is a private irrigation entity, which is a totally different set of regulations. Working with them, they've got a much smaller delivery ditch that essentially is a hazard on Capitol High and Milwaukee Park. So we are going to enclose that to create space for the pathway in some places. And then it actually just makes the site function so much better. You would close it all the way through. But it's a like 24-inch diameter pipe instead of something that's in 48 or 70 inches and on, which is a big, orders of magnitude of different complexity.
My question is, if the lateral is gonna be enclosed, why do we need a path on both sides of the enclosed lateral?
And
Other
so-
side.
So
Apologies.
committee member Crier, so you're talking about on the Spalding side, why we would need it on either side. Right. About 4 or 5 years ago, we worked with Nampa Meridian Irrigation District, and we decided as a city we wanted to leave that lateral open. And so we actually re-piped the actual lateral that runs on the north side of the property. So it's already buried and is getting water to all the users downstream. The water or the feature that you essentially see on the property runs into our holding pond and then is piped back into the property. So we decided to leave it open for habitat, there's a lot of birds, teenagers now, but there's a lot of just habitat on the property. So we did decide to leave that.
And it's not a simple yellow line that you see right there. It goes to Capitol High, and Dane can attest to that too as well. There's a pole vault pit right there. There's baseball fields. There's proposed football field. I mean, there's all kinds of things we've got to work around to get that path through there. So it hasn't been it hasn't been just like, hey, we'll just run it through there. There's some work, and still more work that actually is gonna happen. Yeah.
That's not even for design, right?
It's, okay.
Mr. President, sorry, yes, correct, we're expecting 60% next week, and property owner negotiations are still ongoing, but I'm not worried about any of that at this point. I think everything is solvable.
My point is the construction cost, it's not full design and it's not full price either, so this is kind of not to exceed number.
So yes, committee member Rayburn, yes, so this is a not to exceed, we're saying up to $1 million. I believe we will use that all, so I think the deficit, where Spalding plans are at 100%, we're actually getting ready to go out to bid and feel very comfortable with our estimate. The PDS project is a little bit slower and farther behind, but I think that the deficit will come from either a pathways or a capital fund scenario, probably pathways, sorry, thanks. But so we've kind of planned for that and really talked through what this ask was specifically.
My question would be, do you want to do this all at once? Or do you want to do it in phases? Because I think if you want to save money in phases, the part where the lateral is, instead of having a pathway on both sides, you can have a pathway on one side until you have enough money to put the other pathway in.
So community member Crier, that's a great question as far as timing goes, and what we are hoping is we'll be able to break ground on the Spalding side, probably in the fall, late fall, and then move into the Tuttle side after that, kind of, and we've been talking to the school district on timing and different projects they have, then move into that into the spring. I will say, two different things, I guess I wanna say, and then we can go further into questions. I just wanna make sure to explain that the neighborhood association, the West Bench Neighborhood Association, as well as the high school are very much on board with this project. And I probably didn't emphasize that enough, but I do really wanna make sure that that's noted. We have neighbors talk to us all the time. Dane's been in great conversations with the school district, so that's number one. Number two, these projects, Dane's budget is small each year. We're really having to try and piecemeal how we're putting all these different projects together. So it's really important for us to be able to not only use capital funds, but program funds, levy funds, and really put these puzzle pieces together to be able to make these projects come to fruition. So that's why we were trying to show in the budget that there's lots of different money coming from everywhere. We just kind of need those puzzle pieces to make it
Madam Superintendent, will this take some of the monies though that we had set aside, or I thought we had set aside for the bathroom and parking lot improvements up on Polkat? Apparently it's been delayed.
Yep, so committee member Crier is asking about, we partnered with the America's Trust for Public Lands, which is the BLM Foundation side, their nonprofit side. Those funds have already been allocated to that project. So yes, it is running behind schedule. They're actually BLM is gonna be in town the first week of June. They're gonna come tour the project. But permitting has been slower than that. But yes, any money that this committee has approved then gets moved into that activity already. So it's already been moved out of the total next.
So, you have a breakdown on the 1.8 million?
Do. And sorry, we were trying to keep it fairly simple. So the Spalding budget, and I believe it was in the application packet, was $1.23 billion is what the Spalding phase 1, the blue lines are. Dane's budget is at $611,000 for PDS currently. And like we said, he knows that if and when we get to 100%, that comes back more, which I will say there's a 20% contingency built in currently. When that comes back, if it is higher, that will be then assumed by the Pathways program.
So the major line items for this 1.8 million, obviously concrete installation is a major one. What are the other?
Yeah, I would have to, I'm sorry, commission member Weaver, let me see if I can pull that. A lot of it is mobilization, a lot of it is concrete work. Concrete right now is expensive. It's
$483.
And I was gonna say, Dane, you may have a better sense than I do of what you estimate per mile. You have an amount, don't you?
Yeah, to a first approximation, knowing nothing else about the site, we approximated about $1 million a mile, and that was only gone up in the last 18 to 24 months. We're over that here, and that's essentially in large part because of mobilization, some irrigation work, and just the cost increases we're seeing across the site.
I think you found it.
Okay, I was gonna say, I do have it up here, right here too.
So it's $483,000 for the concrete,
What are the other large?
So-
and the other part is the prep work for the bedding.
So yeah, the earthwork is 150,000. The hardscape, so the concrete, things like that, as well as striping, marking, tree root barrier, things like that come to 750. And then the traffic signage, so crosswalk signs, we also are putting in a handicap accessible van parking, just striping that, is 48,000. And then we have mobilization, our inspections, and our contingency are another 200,000.
Is mobilization.
So mobilization is them essentially getting all the trucks on site, getting, to my understanding, there might be somebody else better in construction, but
It's prep,
it's
getting everything.
getting
that you
everything
need to
there,
do the
so all
construction.
the, yeah,
They charge for that, that's part of the charge.
and that's $20,000. So, and you're welcome to scroll through this if you want to look closer. You're welcome.
The 223 for the tree root barrier, bio barrier.
And I will say that this is I don't mean to say this is a normal project we do all the time, but Jason, who's our parks design lead, helps work with the engineers. We've been in lots and lots of meetings on site, especially for Spalding. And I feel like those numbers are very close to what they're gonna be. So my hope is truthfully that the Spalding side, and we're kind of calling it the Spalding Tuttle Pathway because like I said, essentially it's gonna be one, users won't know the difference. From our standpoint, when Spalding goes out to bid, hopefully in the next week or so, my hope is that we've overestimated, that's our goal, right, is to get as close as we can. But we don't wanna go under and then have it come back more, so.
So there's no land purchase in the 1.8.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at is just the blue line.
Just the blue lines, yep.
All right.
And just to explain to, because I know we do have new members and this hasn't always happened, what will happen is this committee makes a motion, a recommendation, that then will go to mayor and council, and then they are actually the ones that then will approve it and then we move the money.
Is there any more discussion? Yep.
Are there any other competing projects that are coming up soon?
Oh, that's a great question. You mean that would be eligible for levy funds?
Correct.
Not currently right now. I would say that the mayor's office has been very highly communicative of how much we have left. They are very interested in us spending the money. But no, as of right now, there are not large projects that are in the pipeline.
All right. With that, we will ask for a motion to recommend approval.
I recommend approval. Okay, I recommend that the committee moves to, or that the committee, I move to recommend the approval of 1 million in open space and clean water levy funds for the pathway improvements project connecting Milwaukee Park and Spalding Ranch.
I'll second that.
And second, yeah, thanks. And just to be clear, we are making a recommendation to the city council that they approve it. So we're not approving it at this point. Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We get to do a roll call. No, because it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. This motion carries then. And we have executive session. So I will read that.
Really good. I'll tell you a quick story first. A friend of mine said the other day that every time they drive under the wildlife bridge, that they think of me and this committee. Although that was one of our smallest donations ever.
Smallest that produced a very high impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's our different path.
Agency and Idaho Code 742061F to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options of pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated.
Before we take a roll call on that, I just noticed on the screen, there's a number 2 under the chat. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss anybody's comments or questions. Okay, sorry. Thank you. I just saw that and wanted to make sure before we went to that.
Okay. Is there a second on going into executive session?
I'll say.
And all those in favor?
With your
Roll
call. Okay, Condi? Aye. Crier?
Here.
LaRue? Here. Bondi? Here. Raver?
Aye.
Bowen?
Here,
Fabian?
or yes.
Sorry, okay, Fabian? And Delacelia.
Executive.
Second session. Did we roll call that one? Yes, I think we do. Sorry, who seconded? All right, Condi? Aye. Crier?
Aye.
LaRue? Bondi? Aye. Raver?
Aye.
Bowen?
Aye.
Fabian? Delacelia?
Motion adjourned. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Did you get that second? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You are adjourned.
Thanks, Patty, congratulations. I'm glad you're